friends, I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another video. Today is a Friday and I thought it'd be fun to take you guys along with me this entire weekend as I do some reading. We've been hit with a really bad storm in England, but it does mean that I'll be able to spend a very cozy weekend snuggling up and reading some lovely autumn books. It's currently 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I still have quite a bit of work left to do, so you'll see me doing some video editing, but once it starts getting darker, I'm definitely going to settle with a couple of books, and I've got my stack of books behind me. So here's my TBR. I feel like I'm really kind of being very ambitious with this, but the first of these is The Book Eaters by Sun Yee. I'm actually currently in the middle of it and I think I have about 100 or so pages left, but this story is all about 6 different families who are hidden across England and Scotland, and they are the book eaters. Essentially their diet is made up of books and stories, and they're very much isolated from the rest of society, but children are very rare, and you mainly follow a woman called Devon, and she is giving birth to her second son. However, when her son Kai is born, she realizes that he isn't a book eater like everybody else. He's a very much dreaded mind eater. Mind eaters are considered a perversion of the book eaters, and they basically consume other people's souls and minds instead of books. So Devon ends up fleeing the families and she tries to find a cure amongst humans. I'm having kind of a mixed experience whilst reading this. You follow 2 different timelines, or actually multiple different timelines, but the main being the present and then the past. But what I've been finding is that I've been enjoying the past a lot more than the present that you follow. So every time it reverts back to the present, I'm like, oh, I'm not really enjoying it as much. But it's very atmospheric, it's very moody, and I feel like it's quite a good read for this spookier autumnal season. Pretty sure that I'll be able to finish this one at least, hopefully tonight actually. And then the next book on my TBR is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is such a staple in the cozy fantasy world, and really the book I feel like that kick-started the genre, but I haven't read it yet. I did try to attempt reading this multiple times over the past couple of years in various different formats, be that an audiobook or an ebook, but what I'm hoping is that reading it physically will actually help me to engage with the story more. The book is only about 300 pages long, so I'm really hoping that I'll be able to finish this as well. And in case I want a little bit of a different format, I have Garlic and the Witch by Brie Paulson here, which is a lovely middle grade graphic novel. Just flicking through this quickly, there isn't actually very much dialogue, so this is going to be a really good one to pick up if I'm feeling like a slightly lighter read. And then the final book on my weekend TBR is one that I'm pretty certain I'm not going to be able to get to, but I've included it just in case, and that's Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Honestly, if I even get to start this, I'll be very happy with myself. It's set in the same world as Divine Rivals, and you follow Matilda, who is a goddess, but her magic is a very humble one, and it's to do with messenger magic, which essentially involves carrying letters and secrets across different realms. And you also meet Vincent, and 10 years ago Vincent wrote a letter to Matilda asking if she could help him, and yet he didn't receive a response, and so the story unfolds between the 2 of them. But I'm so excited for the weekend to come. My sister is actually coming to visit us tomorrow. We're gonna do some pumpkin carving and hopefully watch a little movie. I do have quite a lot of work to finish up on over the weekend, so you'll probably be seeing me editing, but do go grab a lovely warm beverage. I've got some berry tea here with me today, and let's get into the video. Good afternoon, friends. It's officially Saturday and I had a very late start to the day. I pretty much ended up staying up all night finishing the Book Eaters, and this book is so deceiving because it looks pretty thin until you see the font size and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's like triple the number of words that would be on an average page. I mean, look how tiny that font is. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying my carrot craft knife mic, and don't worry, it's very safe. It's got the safety lock on. But I picked this up randomly maybe in the previous video because I left the wooden spoon downstairs, and I know some of you are really liking the wooden spoon mic, so I feel like you guys need to tell me in the comments below, are you team spoon or are you team carrot? Anyways, I have some honey tea here that I've just been loving. It's just so soothing and warm. But behind me is a little setup that I'm working on. It's my TBR shelves instead of the previous shelves that you saw me have. This is still my office, it's just the other side, and normally you don't get to see this side because it's been filled with boxes for the last couple of months. And you guys might remember me saying that these walls were initially supposed to be filled with shelves, and I've still got the floating shelves idea in mind. It's just me and Ian haven't had the time really, I guess, to like try to screw everything on. So in the meantime, I thought that I would put up these shelves. These shelves have been dotted around the house for a couple of months and we haven't really found a great purpose for them because they are so low, but I thought that would be perfect to use as my little TBR shelves. So all the books that I haven't read yet are displayed behind me, but it also acts as a little storage cubby for my picture books, some folders and other knickknacks. It's definitely a work in progress, so I would love a rug here, I would love a little lamp behind me, I'd love a plant and some wall art, but it serves the purpose for now. Let me just shift this slightly. I feel like maybe that's a bit better. Anyways, I need to be talking about the reading update. I feel like I've given like 5 different tangents already, but the Book Eaters, I finished this last night. I think it took me 3 weeks to finish, so it was definitely a long journey for me, and I did share my thoughts briefly at like 2:30 in the morning on Goodreads. So if you guys don't follow me on Goodreads already, it's always linked down below in the description box. But I have very mixed feelings about this book. It's a dark urban fantasy and it's set in England and Scotland. And I think my favourite thing about this entire novel was the actual premise. I love the thought that there are book eaters out there, an entire species of people who only eat books and stories, and this book is so jam-packed. There is definitely a lot of information. Not only does it address the more morose side of fairy tales, which I thought was really interesting, but you also see the oppression of women playing out, and especially you get to see how far a mother will go to save her child. It also discusses themes of who the monster really is in someone's story and the events that lead up to someone becoming a monster. Wow, the sun is really coming out in full force. Maybe I should draw the curtains. I think so. I think that's a bit better. So back to the Book Eaters. I definitely think that there's an audience out there who would enjoy reading the Book Eaters, and in fact I can think of one friend in particular, Subin, if you're watching this, I think you might enjoy it. But for me personally, I struggled to make my way through this story. I tried DNFing it, well, I was toying with the idea of DNFing it so many times, but I've never ever seen anybody else explore this kind of premise before, so I did want to see and stick through with it until the very end, and I'm glad I did. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention actually when I was talking about what I loved about this book, I did really enjoy seeing the mechanics of the book eating unfold. I think it's the element that I was most excited about when going into this story, seeing how the author would visualize how someone really eats and digests books and stories. So yeah, I wasn't disappointed in that respect. all in all, I think that the concept was 5 stars. The actual execution was maybe more not my personal taste, so I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I'll pop this over here on my little sofa. And then another book that I did read last night was Shirayuki Hime, which is my Japanese picture book. This picture book is a part of my personal curriculum for my Japanese unit, and I really enjoying the unit as a whole. I feel like I've made a lot of progress with my Japanese through it. But Shirayuki Hime is, as you can probably tell, a retelling of Snow White in Japanese for children. I read a couple of pages of it last night, and I think it's really encouraging actually that my reading is getting a little better. Poor Ian has to listen to me stammer through my hiragana because I've just spent the last couple of weeks reading out loud, and doing so many different Japanese exercises is probably a bit annoying for him at this point, but hopefully I'll be able to make some good progress with Shirayuki Hime tonight. And then it's time to pick out my next book for the TBR. The options are Wild Reverence, Garlic and the Witch, and Legends and Lattes, but I think what I'm gravitating towards is Garlic and the Vampire. Oh no, Garlic and the Witch. I'm going to spend some time flicking through the pages of this lovely graphic novel, and then in a couple of hours my sister and Milk are gonna be coming over, and yes, my dog is called Milk. But let's get into Garlic and the Witch. So it's a couple of days later, but I did end up having to pause filming because on Saturday evening I ended up coming down with a really bad allergic reaction in my left eye. So I did end up taking all of Sunday to rest and recoup, and I'm back now and I'm feeling much better. But it does mean that I wasn't able to film a reading update for you guys, so I'm gonna put my mug down and grab Garlic and the Witch. Firstly, Garlic and the Witch. I managed to finish this this. It's very short. It almost has no dialogue in it, so it's a very quick read. I ended up giving this 4 stars and it was a really cozy and whimsical time, but I think overall I preferred the first book. In this story, you still follow Garlic and you watch her having to overcome 2 big changes in her life. One being that her body is changing, and I won't go too much into that because it's going to spoil what actually happens. But the second one is more of a mission. She has to travel really far in order to reach the magical market, and she goes there with the hopes of trying to find a blood alternative for her friend Count the vampire. I think my favorite thing about this graphic novel was the art again. There's like a really lovely folklore kind of atmosphere with the way that Brie Paulson drew and illustrated this story. I loved the depictions of the surrounding forest, especially at the magic market. It was a really whimsical scene. But I guess I just loved the first story maybe a little bit more. I think I found it much more wholesome, but it was still a really lovely read, and I'm glad that I finally got round to it. And then the other book that I managed to get to was Legends and Lattes, and I managed to read about 50 pages or so of it. I can't remember if I actually told you guys what this story is about. I think I just assumed you all knew what it was. In case you don't know, Legends and Lattes follow Viv, who is an orc, but after decades of fighting and slaughtering monsters, she's finally had enough and decides to try something new. She tries to open her very first coffee shop in a town that doesn't know what coffee is. I'm so glad that I'm finally understanding the hype behind this book, because like I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, I've tried reading this book a couple of times now, and each time I just really wasn't enjoying it. I definitely think you have to be in the right mood for this kind of book. It's a very slow, very cozy fantasy. For instance, I didn't realize that we would be spending 50 pages on how the cafe was being built and constructed, and I feel that if you're not in the mood for such a slow-paced book, it can feel a little bit laborious and a bit taxing to be reading about the construction of a building essentially. But when you're in the right mood for it, and if you're wanting something really low stakes, then I feel like it's a really lovely time, and it really does capture the essence of a cozy fantasy, because you get to dwell on the more mundane things that ordinary books would skim over. For instance, there's a lot of time spent on the actual gathering of the materials and the different methods that they're going to use. I'm also really enjoying the friendship pan out between Viv, who is our orc, as well as another character called Calamity, who is a hob. So this time round, yeah, I feel like I'm really enjoying it and I'm finding it really cozy and it's working for me. I'm definitely in the early stages of this novel, so hopefully I continue enjoying it throughout the rest of it as well. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to start Wild Reference this weekend, but I'm definitely still going to read it. It's very high up on my priority list. And if you guys have read any of the books that I mentioned in this reading vlog, let me know how you found it. I'd be interested to hear if your reading experience was a little bit different from my own. But I think I'll wrap the video up here for today. Thank you so much for watching and for tuning in, and I'll see you guys soon in the very next video. Bye friends!